So, hello, welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast live on YouTube and Facebook. Andrew Musgrave. I'm sure you guys need no reminder. It is the Champions League draw, and we're going to do a little live watch along as it goes on. The first name has been drawn out of the hat. Joe Cole is the special guest doing the honours. Bayern Munich in Group A. Now, let me know in the comments who you'd like Newcastle United to draw. There's loads of really interesting teams and loads of big guns that you would like Newcastle United to draw. We've got Seville in Group B, I think will be next. For me, Real Madrid is the one. I'd love Newcastle United to face Real Madrid in the Champions League. Wouldn't that be absolutely brilliant? So yeah, Seville into Group B. So what they're doing, they're just drawing out now the top seeds for each of the groups they've just gone through and explained how the draw works, how match days work. We've got Napoli top of Group C, obviously champions of Serie A. This draw has actually gone on a little bit quicker than I anticipated. I thought it was going to be drawn out, but it kicked off at 5 p.m. and they're already drawing names out of the hat, which is brilliant because I thought we would literally be sitting here for an hour before they did any of the picking of the teams, but they're not. And already they're on to Group D, Benfica, name out of the hat there. So they will be the top seed in that group. Some really good players at Benfica. Some really talented players that you'd love to see at Newcastle United. Gonzalez being one of them. They do so well, don't they? Developing these young players and selling them for huge amounts of money. Nunez being a prime example. Although, sorry, I've had to mention him, but that is the example I was going to give there. Feyenoord. Now, really interesting one there. Dutch champions, of course. If I'm not mistaken, Minter is on loan at Feyenoord now. Of course, you would think he wouldn't be allowed to play in the Champions League, but he has started well there. He's impressed on loan at Feyenoord. So they're in the top out of that group. Let's see. And then PSG. The next one's out of the hat. Never done quite as well as they've wanted in the Champions League, have the PSG, despite all the money and all the wealth. Always seem to fall at that final hurdle. They obviously want to win the tournament. They've just never had enough about them. And Manchester City, the next one's out of that. Now, you can't play you can't play a team from the same country in this round. So Newcastle will avoid the likes of City, and which is good because you've got them in the Carabao Cup. So we don't want to play them too often, especially given they've already been beaten once this season. Carabao Cup begins Monday, the 25th of September that week. Then Barcelona, next one out of the hat. I would really like to avoid Barcelona. Played them twice already in the Champions League. Great club, great history, but let's get another big gun at St James's Park. Don't want Barcelona. I really would like Real Madrid and Napoli. PSG, just someone a little bit different. Right, they're on to pot 2 now. This pot includes Real Madrid, Manchester United, Inter Milan, Borussia Dortmund. Now that would be a pick. Now that would be an excellent pick to get Newcastle United to face Borussia Dortmund. It's also got Atletico Madrid in as well. Kieran Trippier's former side there, and RB Leipzig. And we like RB Leipzig. I think they're a good team. That would be a good little trip for Newcastle United as well. And then FC Porto as well, also in this group. Another Portuguese side that often punches well above their weight, and then Arsenal, the other side as well in this pot. Yeah, Porto, another side that does really well. Does better than a lot of people, I think, expect them to. And there's been talk about a Sir Bobby Robson group if the names come out in the right way, which would be quite something, wouldn't it? So now we're just waiting for Joe Cole, former Chelsea, West Ham midfielder, to draw out the names out of the pot. They're mixing the balls up here. And he's going in for the first one. He's doing it very delicately. Just want to drop it. The first one out of the hat is Borussia Dortmund. I mean, it just would be the battle, wouldn't it, of the terraces with that? It would be the battle of the flag displays. And then they do this mixing up thing where they pick out another ball, and in that it will determine which side of the kind of the group they go into. So we'll see what Dortmund end up being here. F. Sorry, they go into Group F. Did they? Sorry. Dortmund go into Group F rather. So they're in to the group with PSG. Oh, that'd be a tasty little game, wouldn't it? So yeah, so they draw out the teams, and then they draw out the group they go into. They were explaining before about how the two. Let's see, Arsenal. Arsenal. The next one's out of the hat. So then we'll see which group they go into. I can't work out if it's very complicated or very simple the way they're doing it. There's a lot of moving, a lot of balls. Arsenal go into Group B. You've got Edu there and another club representative just looking very, not giving anything away. So they're in the group with Seville, Group B. So Newcastle United in pot 4, so they'll be one of the last ones to be drawn out. Next out is Atletico Madrid. And now they're just picking out the group that they will be in. And it takes a little bit of time to unfold that bit of paper. Group E. So they're in with Feyenoord. Now, if you were looking for, I guess, a simpler group, you maybe would have picked the one, with all due respect, maybe to Feyenoord. I don't know. I mean, Atletico Madrid, not an easy side by any stretch of the imagination. The Manchester United are next out of the hat. So they can't go in the same group as Arsenal or Manchester City, the two of the English teams who've already been drawn out of the hat. So we will now wait and see where they end up. Really interesting, because I'd like you guys to tell me in the comments, would you like to face an English side, in the first round, in the group stages, instead of saving it for later in the competition? Or do you think it's right that the clubs don't face off in the first group stage? Manchester United go into Group A, which puts them in with Bayern Munich. So Harry Kane will get the chance to face Manchester United. Now that is already shaping up to be a very tasty group, that one. Bayern Munich and Manchester United. Next out, RB Leipzig, German side. So they can't go into Group C or D. Just amazing to be sat here talking about Newcastle United back in the Champions League. It's just, it's still mind blowing that Newcastle United are back in Europe's elite competition. RB Leipzig will be in Group G. Next out of the hat is Inter Milan. Remember Newcastle United playing in the San Siro, Shearer getting on the score sheet, and it was fantastic scenes in the away end. It's one of those one of those Champions League games that really sticks in my mind. Next out of the hat, FC Porto. I think Newcastle United fans wouldn't mind a bit of a trip to Porto. So you've got Leipzig ended up in Group G alongside Manchester City. Inter Milan can only join Group D, so they've gone in to face Benfica. And Porto have gone into Group H with Barcelona. Joe Cole's picked up the next one. It's Real Madrid. I think arguably the team many expected to win the Champions League last season, but of course they were done by Manchester City really, really well, weren't they, when them two faced off as a semi-final, I think it was. And Man City ended up winning. Real Madrid, last team out of pot 2, and they joined Napoli in Group C. Now, to me, that Group C, if you're talking about a group of death, just looking around what else has been drawn, that Group C looks like the one, well, I would say the one you want to avoid. I don't know. I would like to see the very best come to St. James's Park, so I'm not going to say I'd want to avoid that. What else have you got? Group D, Benfica into Milan. Feyenoord, Atletico Madrid probably looks the easiest group, you would say. Group H, Barcelona, Porto, so depending on who comes out there next. But yeah, I'd say the toughest group so far, definitely. But then, Group F, PSG, Borussia Dortmund. It's either going to be Group F, Group C. I'd say, for me, I want to see the very best. I would pick Group C if I was able to get Newcastle into a group. I mean, Real Madrid's just the one I would really like. So we're on to pot 3 now. Let's see what comes out of this one. They're just going through who's in this group. PSV, Lazio amongst the teams in here. Donetsk, Salzburg, EC Milan, Braga, FC Copenhagen, and a Serbian side, Crvenka Zvezda. Now that would be a trip and a half, wouldn't it? I'm not entirely sure where that is. I'll have to Google where that is and how you would get there. But that would be an interesting journey for Newcastle United fans, to say the least. Steve says, we're just happy we are in this draw. It doesn't matter who we play, tune. I think that is kind of the consensus of most. Just to be talking about Newcastle being in the Champions League is unbelievable. Robert says he wouldn't want to play another Premier League side. The first name out of the hat is Donetsk, Shakhtar Donetsk. So they're just going to pick which group they can go into. Can't go into A, B, C, or D, I don't think. So they're just going to pick out which one they can land. I mean, the chap doing it, he must have practiced quite a bit. Look very confident. And here we are. So Donetsk will be in. Suspense. This is really suspenseful. Group H. And again, the camera pans to representatives of the club, and there's no emotion shown. They're in the group with Barcelona and Porto. I mean, there's a little nod, but there's nothing given away. Joe Cole on to the next one then. He's smiling, and it is the Serbian side, Crvenka Zvezda. Someone will be correct me. Again, they can't go in the first kind of 4 groups. So we'll wait to see where they go in. James asks, any news on signings coming in? Of course, transfer deadline day tomorrow. Well, Eddie Howe did say after the arrival of Lewis Hall, that was it for Newcastle United. Of course, Sven Botman picked up a knock against Liverpool, but we don't think it's as serious as first feared. I think a lot of people would like another centre back to come in, regardless of Botman, just to make sure they've got an extra body there. I personally would like a number 6 to come in, maybe a striker, but it just doesn't look like Newcastle United are going to do any business. Eddie Howe often says one thing and the club do another, because he's very good at trying to maybe deflect away from what's actually happening. Look, I think Newcastle United will be in the market. They will be looking to act if something comes up. But at this moment in time, it doesn't look like too much is going to be happening. PSV are the next ones out of the hat there. Let me know in the comments what you think. Have Newcastle United done enough in the transfer market? So PSV, as I said, the next ones out of the hat. You're just again deciding where they can go. Into Group B. It's really interesting watching them unscrew the balls, and it must be harder than it looks, because they do look a wee bit nervous. Aaron says, poor window, not enough experience coming in. And interesting, we spoke about that on the podcast on Monday. You know, do Newcastle United need kind of James Milner type? Should they've gone and maybe signed James Milner? Would have been not a bad little buy in my view. AC Milan, the next one's out of the hat. Sandro Tonali's former club. So PSV have joined Seville and Arsenal in Group B. AC Milan have joined. We're just waiting again. Got 2 options here. Group F. PSG and Borussia Dortmund. Next out of the hat, FC Salzburg. Now that again would be a lovely little trip, wouldn't it? They can't go in Group A, C, or D. So again, we wait to see where they will end up. It's Eric Abidal, former Barcelona defender, who's unscrewing the balls to determine which group the teams go into. Doing a very good job of it as well. And they're into Group D with Benfica and Inter Milan. So FC Salzburg join Benfica and Inter Milan. Now, of the group so far, that one probably looks like the best one for Newcastle if you don't want to face the top teams. Lazio next out. I think they can only go into Group E. So, yeah, they can only go into Group E. So that's where they've gone into. They're alongside Feyenoord and Atletico Madrid. Again, that one itself is not a bad group on paper in terms of lesser opponents, with all due respect. You haven't really got a big hitter in there. You've got dangerous sides, so not a big hitter. I should have living out that night in Rotterdam again. FC Copenhagen, Danish side, next out of the hat. They can't go in Group A or C. So we will remain and wait and see just where they head into. John says he would like to avoid Group F. Phil says Tonali against his old club. That's what he'd like to see. So FC Copenhagen into Group A. Against, oh, look at that. Bayern Munich, Manchester United, and FC Copenhagen. Oh, that's a tough group. That is a tough group. But then seeing that Manchester United are not the force they used to be. They think they are, but they're not. They're not. I see Braga next out of the hat. Now, that would be a good trip as well. That would be a lovely little trip for Newcastle United fans taking over the city. So just having a little pause now. Just having a look. In fact, I think that was probably the last one out of the hat. I think we'll be heading into pot 3 now. Pot 4. So this is the one we're waiting for. This is the one we're waiting for. So far, you got Group A, Bayern Munich, Manchester United, Copenhagen. Newcastle can't get into that one. Seville, Arsenal, PSV can't get that one. Now in pot 4, you got Young Boys, good Swiss side. Real Sociedad, Mikel Marino's current team in Spain. Galatasaray over in Turkey. Celtic, Scottish champions, are not going too well at the moment under Brendan Rodgers. Then they've shown Newcastle United on the screen. Isak's goal against Aston Villa there. Union Berlin. Royal Antwerp. The shame Newcastle United couldn't get that. RC Lens as well. Surprise package win there last season. And that is pot 4. So Newcastle can't get into Group A or B or G. So, where are they going to go? The toughest group there looks like Group F. But as I said, I want them to face these big sides. We've waited so long, so let them face the big sides. Let them face a PSG. Joe Cole unscrewing the first ball here. Pot 4. And it's Real Sociedad. So they can't go into Group A or D. I've just seen a report there that says Newcastle United are the toughest team in pot 4. Well, you'd take that, wouldn't you? I mean, look, coming to St James's Park, whether you're Real Madrid or whoever, it's not going to be an easy task. A game under the lights, St James's Park, which is going to be rocking war flags, it's a daunting task. They're into Group D, Real Sociedad. So they join Benfica, Inter Milan, and RB Salzburg. It's not a bad little group, that. Sure, cool. On screen, the second team. And it is. Oh, it's Newcastle United. Here we go, ladies and gents. Here we go. Returning to Europe, or returning to the Champions League for 21 years. Over to you, Eric. Who are you going to team Newcastle United up against? Oh dear. Group F, PSG, Borussia Dortmund, and AC Milan. But you know what? You've waited so long. You've waited so long for this. Get up against them good sides. Would you, Adam and Eva, right? I had so many people saying to me, Borussia Dortmund, because you want the battle of the flags. You've got that. PSG, because of the off-the-field similarities in terms of who owns, the clubs. And then AC Milan, Sandro Tonali's former club. I mean, you could not write that. You could not write that. Like, so many different headlines, so many different stories. Group F. Wowza. Is that the group of death? I think it probably is. I can't believe that. I mean, just one of those teams, PSG, Borussia Dortmund, gives you something more than the football to report on. But all three of them, wowza. But there's nothing to fear there whatsoever. I mean, but what a trip that is. Borussia Dortmund to go into Dortmund and back at Milan. I mean, it what will please Newcastle United fans is that you will get to sing the song about the chaps down the road actually in the city it's about, which is good. And PSG, wowzer. Let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you think about that draw. Kevin says, can't wait. Sandor says, bring it on. Paul says, let's go for it. Nothing to lose. Huge experience. Richard says, we are gone the worst group to be in. Hey, you know, when you've waited this long, you might as well face the best teams because you don't know when it's going to come round again. I'm sure with Newcastle United, it's going to be every season, to come. That's what they're aiming for. But you never know in football. Things don't always go your way. You know, if you'd asked Spurs and Liverpool and Chelsea last summer, if they thought they weren't going to qualify for the Champions League, they would have laughed you out of their respective stadiums. So make the most of this. I mean, them trips are unbelievable. And you've got to, I mean, you won't need to be told by me, but St. James's Park in full force, when it is rocking, it is enough. It is a daunting place to play for any team. It doesn't matter if you're PSG or Borussia Dortmund, you played in these big arenas and big noise. St. James's Park will be a tough place to go. It's going to be fantastic. Look, Sharma's saying we have no chance there. Why not? You've always got a chance in a two-horse race. You know, 90 minutes of football. And you've got to remember, no one gave Newcastle United a chance the first time they were in the Champions League under Sir Boy Robson. And they started so badly and had to rescue it. Then they went, they beat Juventus in the Champions League and what have you. They gave good games against Barcelona. Beat Barcelona 3-2. They've always got a chance, Newcastle United, and it's cliche, but the power of the fan base as well, really important. But they've got such a talented squad. Okay, maybe you'd like to see one or two more brought in, but look, hey, they've got to come to St. James's Park and they've got to beat Newcastle United, and that won't be easy. If you're feeling down about this, don't. Newcastle United got this. PSG, AC Milan, and Borussia Dortmund. Oh, wow. Wow. That game against Borussia Dortmund is going to be something special. It would be good to get them first, actually, wouldn't it? I don't know how. So the match schedule will be released on Saturday at the latest. It'd be really good. First home game of the Champions League to be against Borussia Dortmund. That would be fantastic. That really would be good. I'm not too fussed about the team. I think that's good. Should we go back and we'll just have a... Dave says, imagine if we get beaten by all the teams, that will mess our confidence right up. But that's football. Like, that's your approach. And you kind of say, well, what's the point of being in the Champions League? Newcastle, I know they go into the Champions League as underdogs in most of these games. In PSG against Newcastle, PSG favourites. AC Milan, Newcastle, you could argue they're quite even, really. And Borussia Dortmund, okay, you probably say Newcastle, Borussia Dortmund probably favourites, but not by much. Not by much at all. So don't be too down. It's going to be a brilliant experience. And John makes an excellent point here. To be the best, you have to beat the best. Being on it, all we can do is try our best. It's as simple as that, isn't it? I fully agree with you there, John. With the crowd fully behind them, Newcastle can beat anyone in St. James's Park, says Sandor. And totally agree with that. And Stephen's excited. He says he can't wait. I can't wait either. Buzzing. Absolutely buzzing. I think that's a fantastic group. Really good group, that. Right. Let's just catch up with the rest of the groups just to see what else has been happening. So Royal Antwerp, champions of Belgium, final team out of the pot. They go into Group H against Barcelona, Porto, and Shakhtar Donetsk. Celtic face Feyenoord, Atletico Madrid, and Lazio. Full draw. Group A, Bayern Munich, Manchester United, Copenhagen, Galatasaray. Group B, Seville, Arsenal, PSV, Lens. It's quite a good group, that, for Arsenal. Group C, Napoli, Real Madrid, Braga, Union Berlin. Tasty little group, that. You would assume Napoli and Real Madrid favourites. Group D, Benfica, Inter Milan, Salzburg, and Real Sociedad. That's a really interesting group, that. You would say there. Do you know, I don't think you can see an out-and-out winner there, actually. Going to be quite interesting, that one. Group E, Feyenoord, Atletico Madrid, Lazio, and Celtic. Again, I think pretty open. Madrid probably favourites in that one, but I think that's quite an open group. Group F, PSG, Borussia Dortmund, AC Milan, and Newcastle United. Great group. Love that. Group G, Manchester City, Leipzig, Red Star Belgrade, and Young Boys. Group H, Barcelona, Porto, Shakhtar Donetsk, and Royal Antwerp. I mean, that is a difficult group for Royal Antwerp. But I'm assuming they'll take the same approach as we are as Newcastle United. And to beat the best, you've got to beat the best. James says, really happy with that group. We can only challenge what is in front of us. Cheeky little reunion finale at AC Milan. Nathan says, Big Joe will steamroll a lot of them. I think there's some excitement within the fan bases, and so there should be. Newcastle United back in the Champions League. European night at St James's Park. You know, even the last time they were there in the UEFA Cup, remember the games against Benfica and the journeys abroad. They were so magical. And Newcastle United are back, and not just in Europe, but back in the Elite Cup competition. They will give this a damn good go. And look, it is a tough group. It is arguably the group of death. But don't write Newcastle United off. As we've seen with Newcastle United, when they are underdogs, when no one expects them to win, I'm talking about people outside of Tyneside, that's when they're at their best. You know, when teams come to St James's Park and try and control the game, and Newcastle United have to defend and then hit on the counter, they're very good at that. You know, they're very good at that. They're very dangerous because in transition, they've got speed about them and they're clinical. So playing PSG, who you assume are trying to have a lot of the ball, that'll play in Newcastle's hands. This is going to be a test of their, you know, test of their talents, but it'll be such a great experience. So apparently the subtitles are on Facebook, and I've just said Real Sausage Dad and Fire Northern. That is a fun. Thank you for that, Billy. I didn't realize that. Glad I've brought a little bit of entertainment to your afternoon. And Nathan makes a good point here. Remember, all three of those will be dreading us. Alex says, group of death, let's bring on. And that's, you've got to just have that optimism. Look, you can't do anything about the group. Eddie Howe couldn't control which teams he faced. He's just going to set his team up as best he can to beat these sides. And I think Newcastle United will give each and every one of those clubs a very good go at St James's Park. Roger is here. Hello, Roger. Thank you. Nice comment there. Says great coverage. Much appreciate that. We have a live blog over on chroniclelive.co.uk, so you can head over to that. We had a live event last night where we talked about the Champions League. We had Henry Winter and Matthew Raisbeck amongst our panel talking about the experience of the Champions League and how, you know, the Champions League is built up on upsets, isn't it? And Newcastle United can upset PSG and they can upset Borussia Dortmund. Why not? Why not? Roger says, have you ever seen a Mackem in Milan? Well, Newcastle fans, I'm sure will be singing that relentlessly. The citizens of Milan will be sick of that song after that week. Newcastle head over to Italy. John says, best grounds in the world. Now, I don't know if John's talking about St James's Park, if he's talking about over in France, PSG's ground, Dortmund's ground, or indeed Milan's ground. But yeah, you're right. They're all great grounds to visit, great cities to visit. And it's not just about the football. It's about going and see the culture, going over, having a good time, making a good time of it. It's going to be a really good week, these away games. And of course, here on Tyneside, Stuart says Tonali must have mixed feelings. I don't know. Maybe he welcomes a reunion. Why not? Gets to go home for a few days. I'm sure, I don't doubt he'll give 100% to the Newcastle United cause. It's football at the end of the day. Nothing personal, just business. And he's at the end of the day, look, he wants to win every game he plays for Newcastle United. So whether it's against PSG or AC Milan, it won't matter to him. He's just going to want to win every game. Glenn says, Tonali will have a lot of information on them. Yeah, he can be the secret scout, can't he? Jonathan says, I hope I wasn't the only person that had goosebumps when I saw our team pulled out. No, it was a great moment, wasn't it? I'm sure everyone watching this and listening to this will share that sentiment, Jonathan, about how it felt to see Newcastle United pulled out of the hat for a Champions League campaign. It still doesn't sound real, but they got there deservedly, got there on merit, hard work. And okay, the season hasn't maybe started as most would have liked, but we'll see more of that this season. Everyone pulling in the same direction, that 100% work rate, that work ethic. Look, I think it's going to be a good campaign in the Champions League. I do. I think Newcastle will get through the group stage. I think PSG probably will top that group, and I think Newcastle United will come second. That's my prediction. And then what happens after that, well, that remains to be seen. But what a group. What a group. Group of death. Bring it on. Newcastle United back in the Champions League. How exciting. Thank you very much for following the Everything is Black and White podcast. If you're listening on the podcast channel, please hit that subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button as well. And give the video a thumbs up. Much appreciated. Thank you for spending your time with me this afternoon. Head over to chroniclelive.co.uk.